Concentrate our mind on the Divine Lord and pray for the peace and joy of the whole humanity. Shanti Hari Om Tat Sat. Om Stavakaya Dharmasya Sarvadharmasvarupine Stavakaya Dharmasya Sarvadharmasvarupine Avatarvarishtaya Ramakrishna Te Namah. Asato ma Tadgamaya Tamaso ma Jyotirgamaya Asato ma Sadgamaya Tamaso ma Jyotirgamaya Pratyormamritangamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Let us bow down to Sri Ramakrishna, the embodiment of all religions, the Supreme God Incarnate. Let us pray to Him to lead us from unreal to the real, to lead us from the darkness of ignorance to the light of knowledge, to lead us from death to immortality. We have been discussing since 2 classes about solving the problems in our life so that we can move onward in our spiritual journey. Sri Ramakrishna said, you will have to conduct your spiritual life and discipline with firmness. Then only you will be able to experience the true nature of yourself. Then only you will have the experience of immense joy. It's only on realizing your true self you become ever peaceful. You will never have any problems thereafter. All the problems get dissolved. But as long as we keep on trying to solve the problems from the materialistic point of view, you will not be able to solve them, because you find the worldly remedies are inadequate to solve the problems of life. What are the real problems that confront us in this world? fear, anxiety, unfulfillment, hatred, etc. External objects and people only serve as secondary causes. The primary cause lies deep down in consciousness. Naturally, therefore, the solution too must be sought in the consciousness. So we are dealing with this subject of solving the problems confronting us. Vedantic approach confirms that all the problems can be solved coming to Vedanta. Whatever problems that might exist in this world, whatever problems that you might confront in religion, all the problems get dissolved. We have seen that the basic problems of life arise from the contradictory nature of life, which is due to the presence of both being and non-being. Sat Asat. We are translating it as being and non-being, real and unreal. One is truly real, the other one is apparently real. Sat is truly real, Asat is apparently real. Birth and death, joy and sorrow, knowledge and ignorance, virtue and vice, and other polarities. These are the causes for the problems. Patanjali says that the Atman or Purush or self in every being is pure consciousness, and that can be separated from the hold of Prakriti, which is the source of all contradictions. We are all facing the problems on account of our identification with Prakriti. So Patanjali says, you have to separate yourself from Prakriti. You have to disidentify yourself from Prakriti. This Viyoga, or separation of pure being from non-being, Patanjali calls it as yoga. According to Advaita Vedanta, being alone is real. Non-being is an illusion. It's called Maya. It's called Ajnan. It is called ignorance. So this one universal, all-pervading, absolute continuum of being is called Brahman. Nothing but Brahman exists. That is the concept of Vedanta. It states that the ultimate goal of life is not simply freedom from fear and sorrow. but also the experience of pure bliss. Bliss is very important there. You feel immensely joyful. Brahman is not only absolute being, Sat we call it, but also absolute bliss, Ananda. Happiness is an inseparable aspect of being or existence. There are different levels of existence, and for every level there is a corresponding level of happiness. It is through consciousness, which we call Chit, that both being and happiness are known. This consciousness acts as a link between being and happiness. If there is one infinite being, it must be of the nature of infinite consciousness. Therefore, Vedanta describes the ultimate reality as Sat Chit Ananda. Being, consciousness, bliss, absolute. The discovery that the ultimate reality is of the nature of absolute consciousness, Prajnanam Brahma, Upanishad says, is one of the great events in the history of human thought. The 6th century pre-Socratic Greek philosopher Parmenides recognized a homogeneous infinite being as an absolute reality filling all space, and regarded plurality and change as illusory. But this philosopher did not identify it with infinite consciousness. The concept of an infinite all-pervading consciousness nullifies the concept of non-being. We have seen that the fear of non-being, destruction, negation is one of the main causes of sorrow, and that half the energies of a person is directed towards overcoming this fear. The Vedanta concept of consciousness eliminates fear and makes the struggle to avoid non-being unnecessary. It also eliminates the struggle for fulfillment, for happiness is the very essence of real nature of man, and there is no need to struggle for its attainment. Existence itself is happiness. The true self of man, the Atman, is inseparable from Brahman. We are clearly trying to understand the Vedantic concept so that we can solve all the problems confronting us without any difficulty. The true self of man, the Atman, is inseparable from Brahman. It partakes of divinity and is the embodiment of perfection. The values goodness, truth and beauty, they are only reflections of Satchit Ananda aspects of Brahman. And these values can be fulfilled not in the external world but only in the Atman. Furthermore, the concept of divinity of the human soul provides a universal solution to the problem of morality. Why should a man be good? Why should a man be moral? Why should he be chaste? Because, says Vedanta, purity is the original nature of his soul. When people realize that they are by nature pure and good, they will desist from wickedness and immorality. Why should a man love his neighbor as himself? Because, says Vedanta, it is the one supreme self that dwells in all beings as individual selves. This is the reason why Vedanta offers self-realization, experiencing your true nature as the only solution to the problems of life. Vedantic approach should be taken, otherwise problems remain in one way or other. Owing to ignorance, man forgets his divine nature and regards himself as a separate, limited entity, the ego. It is this separation from universal life that produces the illusion of non-being and the consequent fear. Fear comes only from duality. Upanishad says, Dvitiyadvai bhayam bhavati. Brihadaranyaka Upanishad says that. It is the insecurity of the ego that makes people quarrel and compete with one another. Egoism is the root cause of all human misery. And it is impossible to find a lasting solution to the problems of life within the ego-bound world. As long as the soul is enveloped in ignorance, it can't understand the mystery of life. A final and comprehensive solution to the problems of life can be found only by transcending the ego. This is the unanimous verdict of all the sages and saints of India. They did not believe that man could find peace and happiness by changing his environment. The key to the solution of the problems of life lies within. But in order to find it, man must go beyond the ego, transcend his senses. This is the Vedantic solution to the problems of life. There are some laws of transcendence. How to take onward steps in that way. We shall consider that. Dr. Jung, a famous philosopher, psychologist, says in his introduction to the well-known book, The Secret of the Golden Flower. There, in the introduction, he says that in the course of his practice, he came across several people who were not benefited by psychiatric treatment, but who nevertheless gradually got freed from their mental troubles without any outside help. He closely studied some of the cases and found that these people had not really solved their problems, but had outgrown them. Outgrown. It's very important. They had somehow reached a level of consciousness where their problems lost their urgency. What on a lower level had led to the wildest conflicts, viewed from the higher level of personality, now seemed like a storm in the valley, seen from a high mountain top. From this, Dr. Jung concludes, I have learned to see that the greatest and most important problems of life are all fundamentally insoluble. They must be so because they express the necessary polarity inherent in every self-regulating system. They can never be solved but only outgrown. By his discovery, the man cannot solve the basic problems of life through ordinary means, but can go beyond them. Dr. Jung had stumbled upon the important law of human existence. The higher the plane of consciousness we attain, the greater becomes our knowledge and power to deal with the problems of life. This important principle was discovered in India thousands of years ago. It forms the basis of yoga. In fact, it is a central principle of Hinduism. Swami Vivekananda says in his lecture on necessity of religion, he says there, religion rose in India not out of ancestor worship or fear of the powers of nature, but out of an attempt to solve the problems of life by transcending the senses. The principle mentioned now is closely connected to another fundamental law of consciousness. That is, the significance of an event depends upon the person's level of consciousness. Human personality has different levels, and at each level, our view of the world, our understanding of reality changes. What appears as difficult, conflicting, or confusing at a lower level ceases to be so at a higher level. When we are confronted with a problem, before attempting to solve it, we must first of all ask ourselves what level of consciousness we are in. If the mind is restless or is overpowered by strong emotions like hatred, fear, and so on, it means what? It confirms we are in a lower state of consciousness. In that condition, it is not possible even to have a clear idea of the nature of the problem, much less solve it. The example is given. There is a stump of a tree. In the dark, it may be mistaken for a policeman by a thief, for a ghost by a frightened man, for once beloved by a lover. Same stump of tree is interpreted in different ways. Similarly, we get a distorted view of people and situations when we are in the grip of powerful emotions. To understand this is the first step. The next step is to try to rise to a higher plane of consciousness. The third step is to see the problem in a larger divine context. Now the question is how to rise to a higher plane of consciousness. How to transcend the limitations of the ego. The answer lies in yet another law of the spiritual world. That is, transcendence is possible only through a transformation of consciousness. Rising to a higher plane is not as easy as going to an upper floor by the staircase or an elevator. There is no shortcut to spiritual illumination. Each level of consciousness, each level has its own laws, and it is not possible to reach a higher level unless the lower levels are transformed in accordance with their own laws. So transformation of consciousness is the next point which we should understand. The famous Upanishad Taittiriya, it distinguishes 5 planes in human personality. The physical plane, the vital plane, the mental plane, the intuitional plane, and the last one, blissful plane. 5 planes. The true self, or Atman, is beyond these 5 planes. But in ordinary life, it gets identified with any one of these planes at any given time. As a result, during that time, that particular plane appears to be a separate living entity, an independent self, a different I. The first 3 selves, the physical, the vital, and the mental, together constitute the ego, or the lower self. Lower self means all these 3 together. And the remaining 2, the intuitional and the blissful, form the higher self. The attitude, the mood, the behavior, and even the appearance of a person depend upon which of these selves he identifies himself with. That is, at which plane his center of consciousness lies. When body needs are being attended to, the center remains in the physical plane. When a person is overcome by strong passions like anger, greed, and so on, the center of his consciousness moves to the vital plane. When he is engaged in thinking or studies, the center moves to the mental plane. This shifting of the center among the three lower planes is mostly an unconscious process and is going on continually in the course of the day-to-day life. It needs only ordinary effort or no effort at all. It goes on. But shifting the center to the plane of spiritual intuition, Vijnanamaya Kosha, which means rising from the lower self to the higher self, needs a fully conscious and disciplined effort and a thorough transformation of consciousness. The discipline by which consciousness is transformed is known as yoga. It's also known as sadhana. An undisciplined life makes the mind restless and dissipates its powers. When, however, the mind is purified and concentrated, its movements become harmonious, centralized, silent and powerful, like a lubricated wheel rotating on ball bearings. I give another example. As the impeller wheel of a motor pump lifts water from a deep well to the ground above, so the wheel of yoga lifts consciousness from a lower level to a higher level. So the next stage is yoga. It involves two basic processes. One is purification and the other concentration. We shall see how, in what manner yoga is able to purify and we will be able to concentrate. I will discuss this matter in the next class. Sometimes the level of consciousness is raised when you come and meet a holy person or an illumined person, when you come to a place where the spiritual vibrations are kept very high, you feel your consciousness is lifted up. All your burdens are gone, you feel highly relieved, you feel a state of equilibrium, remarkable peace you feel. You got that experience because your consciousness was lifted up. Sometimes, if you love music, suppose you put some bhajans, one song is enough to lift your consciousness. Suppose you are an artist, painting or some beauty of the nature is enough to uplift your consciousness, to rise your consciousness from the lower level to the higher level. So we have to make effort somehow to come towards God, who is our own Atman. We should go near our true self. The more near we go, the more peace and joy we experience. And problems also get dissolved. Problems will be always there as long as you are in the world, as long as you are hugging the world, as long as the worldly encumbrances are hanging upon you, as long as you are dragged mercilessly by the world, problems do exist. So, the more the problems, the more the adventurous you must become. What is the meaning of becoming adventurous? Not jumping from the sky, not that type of adventure. Adventure means living the life of spirituality. That is the real adventure. To go, to transcend the senses, not to yield to the weaknesses. That is adventure. To assert your strength. That is adventure. Spiritual life is adventurous life. And the early you realize it, it becomes easy for you. Well, that's the way we should go. And Sri Ramakrishna has given practical instructions how to conduct ourselves in a spiritual way to solve the problems of life. Page 535. Sri Ramakrishna's second ecstasy was at Balram Bose's house. In that state, he could not keep himself sitting upright. He lay flat on the floor. Rakhal belongs to the realm of the personal God. He leaves the place if one talks about the impersonal. I have taken a vow to worship the Divine Mother when he recovers. You see, he has renounced his home and relatives and completely surrendered himself to me. It was I who sent him to his wife now and then. He still had a little desire for enjoyment. Pointing to Yam, in fact I was telling you, his second ecstasy was at Balram's house. It refers to Rakhal. Pointing to Yam, Sri Ramakrishna said, Rakhal has written him from Vrindavan that it is a grand place. The peacocks dance around. Now let the peacocks take care of him. He has really put me in a fix. Rakhal has been staying with Balram at Vrindavan. Oh, what a nice nature Balram has. It is only for my sake that he doesn't go to Orissa, where his family owns an estate. His brother stopped his monthly allowance and wrote to him, come and stay with us here. Why should you waste so much money in Calcutta? But he did not listen. He has been living in Calcutta because he wants to see me. What devotion to God! He is busy day and night with his worship. His gardener is always making garlands of flowers for the deity. He has decided to spend 4 months a year at Vrindavan to reduce his expenses. He gets a monthly allowance of 200 rupees. Why am I so fond of the youngsters? They are still untouched by lust and gold. I find that they belong to the class of the Nitya Siddhas, the ever perfect. When Narendra first came here, he was dressed in dirty clothes, but his eyes and face betokened some inner stuff. At that time, he did not know many songs. He sang 1 or 2. Let us go back once more, O mind, to our own abode. And, O Lord, must all my days pass by so utterly in vain? Whenever he came here, I would talk only with him, though the room was filled with people. He would say to me, please talk to them. And then I would talk with others. I became mad for the sight of him and wept for him in Jadu Mallik's garden house. I wept here too. holding Bholanath's hand. Bholanath said, "Sir, you shouldn't behave that way for a mere Kayastha boy." One day, the fat Brahmin, the nickname for Pranakrishna, a devotee of the Master, said to me about Narendra with folded hand, "Sir, he has very little education. Why should you be so restless for him?" Bhavanath and Narendra are a pair. They are like man and woman. So I asked Bhavanath to rent a house near Narendra's. Both of them belong to the realm of the formless reality. I forbid the youngsters to spend a long time with women or visit them too frequently. Haripad has fallen into the clutches of a woman of the Ghoshpara sect. She shows maternal feeling for him, but Haripada is a child and doesn't understand its real meaning. The women of that sect act that way when they see young boys. I understand that Haripada lies on her lap and that she feeds him with her own hands. I shall tell him that this is not good. This very maternal feeling leads to a downfall. The women of that sect practice spiritual discipline in the company of men. They regard men as Krishna. A teacher of that sect asks a woman devotee, "Have you found your Krishna?" And she says, "Yes, I have found my Krishna." The other day, that woman came here. I watched the way she looked around and I did not approve of it. I said to her, "You may treat Haripada any way you like, but don't have any wrong feeling for him." The youngsters are now in the stage of sadhana. They are aspirants. For them, the only thing now is renunciation. A sannyasi must not look even at the portrait of a woman. I say to them, don't sit beside a woman and talk to her, even if she is a devotee. You may say a word or two to her standing. Even a perfect soul must follow this precept for his own protection and also to set an example to others. When women come to me, I too say to them after a few minutes, go and visit the temples. If they don't get up, I myself leave the room. Others will learn from my example. Can you tell me why all these youngsters and you people to visit me? There must be something in me, or why should you all feel such a pull, such attraction? Once I visited Hridaya's house at Sihor. From there I was taken to Shambazar. I had a vision of Gauranga before I entered the village, and I realized that I should meet Gauranga's devotees there. For 7 days and nights I was surrounded by a huge crowd of people. Such attraction. Nothing but kirtan and dancing day and night. People stood in rows on the walls and even were in the streets. I stayed at Natavar Goswami's house. It was crowded day and night. In the morning I would run away to the house of a weaver for a little rest. There too I found that people would gather after a few minutes. They carried drums and cymbals with them, and the drum constantly played takuti takuti. We would have our meal at 3 in the afternoon. The rumor spread everywhere that a man had arrived who died 7 times and came back to life again, referring to Master's Samadhi. Hridaya would drag me away from the crowd to a paddy field for fear I might have an attack of heat apoplexy. The crowd would follow us there like a line of ants. Again the cymbals and the never-ending takuti takuti bother us like this. Have we never heard kirtan? The Vaishnava priests of the village came and almost started a quarrel. They thought I would take their share of the fees from the devotees. But soon they discovered that I did not touch a piece of cloth or even a thread. Someone remarked that I was a Brahmajnani. So the Vaishnava Pandits wanted to test me. One said, "Why hasn't he beads and a mark on his forehead?" Another of them replied, "They have dropped from him as a dry branch from a coconut tree." It was there that I learned this illustration of the dry branch of a coconut tree. The upadhis, limitations, drop when one attains knowledge. People came thronging from distant villages. They even spent the night there. At Sham Bazaar, I learned the meaning of divine attraction. When God incarnates himself on earth, he attracts people through the help of Yoga Maya, his divine power. People become spellbound. Any questions or comments? In the book Meditation and Spiritual Life by Swami Chidananda, how to raise the level of consciousness, this topic has been dealt with nicely. That's why the scriptures always say, please come, associate with holy people frequently. That is a way to purify oneself. Anybody asking what time of the day you had the dream? See, the point is this. It is very rare to get the dream of Sri Ramakrishna. There must be some special reason for that. One reason is it's an indication that you are receiving his grace. Grace. And so he is preparing you so that you may, in course of time, take initiation. That means Sri Ramakrishna Mantra, so that you can start your spiritual life. And it also indicates the purity level of your consciousness. Purity level. That means Sri Ramakrishna is helping you to rise from the worldly life into the spiritual life. And he is trying to give you an experience of what pure love means. And it's a very good sign. Keep on reading that book. As I told you, complete that life of Sri Ramakrishna. Read as many times as you want, so that you must know clearly who this Ramakrishna. You must know very clearly. Then your devotion and reverence and attitude, everything will be wonderful, and you feel great joy afterwards. That's all. Sometimes when you read, when the thoughts are deeply thought over in the mind, when the ideas are thought over in the mind concentratedly, they come up in the form of dream. That's also possible. But anyway, it's very good. You got Sri Ramakrishna's assurance and hope. You have tasted his love. It's a good sign, I should say. But God comes to help them. In fact, incarnations come to help not only the spiritual aspirants, but also ordinary people. Anybody who is having little inclination towards spiritual ideas, they will be completely drawn and they will be blessed. In Sri Ramakrishna's life we see how very ordinary person, he was doing a menial job, doing a job of a servant. Sri Ramakrishna accepted him as one of the disciples and led him in spiritual life, and later on he became one of the great disciples. His name Latu Maharaj Adbhutanandaji. He was most ordinary in every sense of the term. But he had one basic quality. The basic quality was he was sincere and honest. That's important. God always sees what goodness you have got. If you have got little bit, He magnifies it and He finds reason to accept you. He must have some reason to take you. So He tries to find out. Everybody has some good nature, though the person may not be aware of it. But God knows, and He pulls the person, drawing that goodness. So once it happened, this Latu, in the previous name of Adbhutanand, he was working as a servant in Ramchandra Datta's home. One day they found some money was missing or something. Immediately the first thought would be probably he might have taken. Because he was a poor man and he came through a lot of difficulties. So, who else but he, without finding any reasons, without finding any evidence, simply they were charging. He came to know about that. He felt very sad and he said, "Look, I may be a very poor man, but I am not a thief. I have not touched the money at all." And all the people were surprised to hear him talk without any hesitation, and they could see the sincerity when he said that way. And Sri Ramakrishna, when he saw him, at the outset he accepted him. So, even a person may not have devotion, but if a person is sincere and good, that's enough. God helps. In the same way, there is another person who was considered very bad, very wicked, and he was Girish Chandra Ghosh. He said, "I have committed lots of crimes, nobody can compete with me. I am the worst sinner." He himself declares. Even that worst person was accepted by Sri Ramakrishna. The reason was, God, anybody can go to God. Apichetsu duracharo bhajate mamananya bhak. Sadhureva samantavyaha. Even if a person is considered wicked, once it turns to me, once it turns to God, he becomes good. He becomes purified. Like the cotton touched by fire, all the sins will be washed away by the contact of the holy people. And Sri Ramakrishna uplifted him. He had wonderful quality of tremendous faith, Shraddha. He had tremendous Shraddha in Sri Ramakrishna. So that saved him from his dangers. So, incarnations come with the main purpose of helping the masses. But those who really aspire for it, they take advantage of that. That's the point. We shall stop. Chant the name of the Lord and His glory unceasingly, that the mirror of the heart may be wiped clean and quenched that mighty forest fire, worldly lust, raging furiously within. O name, stream down in moonlight on the lotus heart, opening its cup to knowledge of thyself. O self, down deep in the waves of His bliss, tasting His nectar at every step, bathing in His name, that bath for weary souls. Various are thy names, O Lord, in each and every name thy power resides. No times are set, no rites are needful for chanting of thy name. So vast is thy mercy, how huge then is measuredness, who find in this empty life and heart no devotion to thy name. O my mind, be humbler than a blade of grass. Be patient and forbearing like a tree. Take no honor to thyself, give honor to all. Chant unceasingly the name of the Lord. O Lord and soul of the universe, mine is no prayer for wealth or revenue, the playthings of lust or the toys of fame. As many times as I may be reborn, grant me, O Lord, a steadfast love for Thee. A drowning man in this world's fearful ocean is Thy servant, O sweet one. In Thy mercy consider him as dust beneath Thy feet. Ah, how I long for the day when an instant's separation from Thee, O Lord, will be as 1,000 years, when my heart burns away with its desire, and the world without Thee is a heartless void. Prostrate at Thy feet let me be in unwavering devotion, neither imploring the embrace of Thine arms, nor bewailing the withdrawal of Thy presence, though it tears my soul asunder. O Thou who stealest the hearts of Thy devotees, do with me what Thou wilt, for Thou art my heart's beloved, and Thou alone. O Lord, lead us from the unreal to the real. Lead us from darkness to light, and lead us from death to immortality. May all be free from dangers. May all realize what is good. May all be actuated by noble thoughts. May all rejoice everywhere. May all be happy. May all be free from disease. May all realize what is good. May none be subject to misery. May the wicked become virtuous. May the virtuous attain tranquility. May the tranquil be free from bonds. May the freed make others free. May good betide all people. May the sovereign righteously rule the earth. May all beings ever attain what is good. May the worlds be prosperous and happy. May the clouds pour rain in time. May the earth be blessed with crops. May all countries be freed from calamity. May holy men live without fear. May the Lord, the destroyer of sins, the presiding deity of all sacred works, be satisfied. For He being pleased, the whole universe becomes pleased. He being satisfied, the whole universe feels satisfied.